And welcome to the Business Octopus, where we talk about all things sales, marketing, and technology. I'm Avon Collis, CRM and Marketing Automation Specialist at Relevate and all-around good guy. And I have with me my business partner in crime, Chandan Rana, who is the Technical Specialist and Digital Solutions Infrastructure Specialist at Relevate as well. Today, we are joined by Samantha Dean from Blueprint HQ, who's here to talk about professional services, why they can't scale, and what to do about it. So welcome, Sam. How are you going?
Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Avon, for having me here. I'm super excited about this. Obviously, professional services is a passion of mine, as I am a very passionate accountant by trade. But, you know, all my clients and my love is for the professional services experts and how we can actually scale these businesses to get them making more money, actually getting their services out there to more people. You know, really bringing experts to the forefront.
Excellent. And, you know, Sam, if you're listening, Sam has a massive experience having run very large firms before, and is definitely one to talk about, to listen to in terms of what to do to grow your professional firm. So we touched on it in the I guess the topic headline is professional service firms traditionally can't scale.
Yep.
Why is that?
Look, there's a lot of reasons. I think if we had to put one, I think it's what we call the expert deficit. We spend a whole stack of time getting our technical abilities up to, you know, expert level, which is where they should be, and disproportionately little working on our businesses, business skill sets and our CEO skill sets, which has given us a big gap, particularly coming into this time that we're in now, where we actually need to scale. We have got models that are okay at leveraging, so we can make our time more efficient. And I think, you know, we'll talk about the term, which is your term, which is performance punishment, but that's a leveraging skill. But the scale is how do we repeat ourselves, particularly when we are experts, and how do we do that? And that's an education and a skill set gap. And there's a whole lot of mindset issues. And, you know, these are generational collective type of issues from our industries, which have been super successful in the past. But as we move from the more brain style of businesses that we've been seeing in the last century or so into these more scaled heart-centered businesses, that's our problem.
I think, you know, accountants think a lot in terms of vehicles, like a tax vehicle or something like that. And technology really is your professional vehicle. It's the thing that you have to, you know, do your Zoom through. You have to run your emails through. You have to have your emails come through a system so you can share it with others. And I think a lot of times the main crux of that is probably more of a people.
Yes, for sure. It's definitely a people problem.
He is frozen.
Okay, so Avon's frozen at the moment, so I'll talk to that for a minute while he comes back.
Yep.
So it's definitely true, and certainly in my experience, I found that early on in my piece, when I really started to want to scale what I did, particularly in the business services areas, my passion has been for the last 15 years helping business owners grow from within accounting firms, but before that tax, is that I thought technology was our savior, but I didn't truly understand that what I needed to do with the technology, or how it would actually empower me. And some of the things like sales in particular, I would get a CRM system in or do some marketing or whatever that is. And the CRM system itself actually relied on me actually selling, and I wasn't selling. So I didn't understand the process of selling. I didn't understand that I had to educate my market in what I was doing, because previously with tax, I didn't have to do that. So, you know, I was looking for those one-stop technology solutions that weren't going to solve it. Now, when I got the process and my steps under control, the CRMs made all the difference in the world when I actually understood what they were doing and the benefit of them. And I think so often as professionals, and I certainly done this in the past, we then blame the technology, not our skill sets. So learning that was really hard. And now I want to speed up that process for people. But even in, you know, trying to get technology to help what you do every day, even if it is just the processing stuff, you need to understand your processes and what you want the technology to do first. And then you can accelerate and use technology to scale.
with information that's available these days, I think, one thing we've found is that we'll invest in software before we invest in throwing people at the problem.
Yes.
People want better jobs. They want to be more enriched. They want to do the more exciting things. They don't want to sit down in the weeds and do a process monkey at some issue that can be solved by a machine.
Mm-hmm.
And so partly it's human capital, performance, job enjoyment. We're in the great resignation era where people are sick of doing certain things. Management problems. We make it a culture to use technology to have a culture.
Yes.
We have a coffee chat thing every day. We have, we send gifts to each other. We build those little team moments into the system, and the fact that the information is shared better. People have less questions, less animosity, because everyone's clear on the mission and what they have to do, and people feel as though they are empowered to do things themselves, which I think people forget that most of the technology, they go, right, this is here to hold names and email addresses. No, it's going to do 10 times more than that. It's just indirect benefits that you get.
Yeah, but I think it's important to note there, Avon, that all of that stuff that you said is so important, and it's the reason why we need, and that is one thing we need to do. We need technology to take over a whole lot of stuff that we're doing every day that we might not want to do, but we also then need the skill sets to be able to have it. So when you're working with professional services firms in particular, we are hours for dollar mindset. We've been told that our value is on how many hours we put down on our slate. So when we are then bombarded with technology that can actually decrease that, and I said it before, but it's actually your term, the performance punishment, is that we can't, there's a paradox here that we have to actually undo and educate and think before we feel safe on actually letting technology take away some of the stuff that we value ourselves on, so we can then expand to do those cultural things that other people want to do. And now it's Raina and I, so we're going to keep going. And so this is the paradox that we have, particularly when you might have staff who will feel threatened by technology, that it's like, well, what am I going to do now? So if you take that stuff away from me, what am I going to do? And there's no journey or planning or anything for them to have, and they might not necessarily have the skill sets to have those interesting conversations, and particularly say the 40 to 50-year-olds who have come up through 30 years of doing this stuff over and over again. So they're seeing technology as a threat, and then they're going to block the behavior. But if you can get around that, they're usually the ones that then also get really empowered by it. But you have to have a journey or a plan for them to how do they replace the time that they're doing now, because all of these people are really hardworking and want to do stuff. But if they can't see clearly if you're replacing what they do every day, what are they going to then replace with their everyday? What new skills do they need to learn? And, what's the next stage in their values? So this is why you do get a lot of block in the technology. And also, if you're in a culture that it's a 70% or 80% productivity, and you say we can have more time to have all of these really great conversations, that's going to freak them out a little bit as well. But I know that once we get over that, we work through that, then technology enables them to scale, quite dramatically, and the cultures and everything get a whole lot better.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, and going back to your point in regards to the performance punishment, I guess, and what most businesses, I guess, own outside of services, some trades as well, struggle with that. Where they've spent all these years trying to learn these skill sets, trying to better themselves, to trying to getting the process down so that it's very as time saving as it possibly could be, whereas the end customer or the end client only sees the 10 minutes or 15 minutes that person has put towards it, or it might be 4 hours, and they just value judge on those 4 hours.
Yeah, because you absolutely pick something up there amazingly, Rana, is because our market and most people, even if they're not experts or carpenters or whoever they may be, or even plumbers, most people do work on hours for dollars mindset, because that's how everybody, like the whole system has trained us to be, rather than what do I want and how much do I value that. So if you've got a clogged drain with a plumber, I don't care if it takes him 10 minutes or 10 hours. I'm paying for the fact that sewage is going to stop coming out. So the plumber sells. If the plumber sells, I can come and get rid of that shit problem for you. You'll pay whatever he says. It doesn't matter. So the mindset, it's up. This is where the marketing comes into it, is we've actually got to market the value of the outcome as opposed to the value of the input. And this is how we get around it, but we have to have the skills to do that. And this is the marketing and sales issue.
Certainly. And it's just I guess the understanding and going back to the value proposition of what you're doing, not just looking at, okay, well, it's going to take you 4 hours to code a certain custom script to get some business automation for an end client. Whereas that 4 hours of work that you did on the front end actually had 8 hours of work in the back end that the client actually hasn't seen.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, but they're paying for the output. And if people, this is, if people don't want the output, then it doesn't really matter how you cost it, whether it be hours or value or whatever. So you first of all got to find out that. The advantage of some professional services firms, particularly tax, is it's illegal for you not to do what they have. So they're even harder on that. But the value of what you do with tax is actually not the tax return itself or the output or the hours that you put in. It's keeping people safe. So a lot of people want to feel safe. So if you can get very clear on the problem you're actually solving for these people and you understand what their problem is, then that's where we get the marketing and everything right, and the hours for does mindset. And then you can really empower through technology and everything like that. But quite often, particularly in professional services and even, I call experts also the plumbers and the carpenters that we were talking about previously as well, is that they aren't really sure on the problem that they're solving. They're only really sure on the products that they're delivering. So it's not a client focus. So, that's one of the biggest blocks to scaling long-term as well, is because they're not scaling the right stuff either.
I'd almost say that in terms of understanding your customer is probably incredibly critical. Like most people go, I'm going to buy leads, but I have no relationship with this lead that came on Facebook or whatever. And so understanding your customer, like we store things like T-shirt size, coffee order, favorite beer or whatever. So if we want to send them a bottle of something, we know exactly what's going to really make it sing, or we know if they come into the boardroom and then sit down, we've got someone walks in 5 minutes later with their favorite coffee ready to go. Yeah. And maybe we've asked about their children or how their dog who's broke its leg last week is healing up. Those sorts of things really make a difference. And that's what gets you into that zone of account growth, where you go from trying to close the new client and the new client and the new client to selling to people you already know, which is 16 times cheaper and 8 times easier to do. So you're more likely to go, if you get them for accounting, hey, maybe we might do some financial wealth planning, or you might do something, for us, we go, all right, so we're hosting your website, might do your Microsoft licenses. By the way, we'll help you with a CRM system as well. And it just grows and that relationship develops. And so does that trust.
Yeah. And I think that's key. I think a lot of people want the leads, and also you have to understand what your clients look like. It is so inefficient to go and say, well, I've got 10,000 leads here, when particularly if you're high value, you want 5 or 6 that are really good, that you really only need to convert 1 or 2. But as you just said, most of these clients are already, if you've got an established business, obviously, are already in your database. So you don't need to do that. But you need to understand the power of spending time with your clients and getting to know them. Now, try to do that first by just having conversations and, capturing it in Excel or Word, and then do exactly what Avon was talking about. Like, we've got such information. People want to feel heard. And if last time they were upset, they're upset about something, and you come back and say, how is that? And when you're dealing with a lot of people, you have to have some form of technology. No, we're not superstars. We can't remember everything, but if we can get the technology and the technology is advising us, we can just build. Because also, don't think of that as a cheapened way to do it. Someone said to me once, well, that just makes me look like And I said, no, it's not. You've taken the effort to put it into a CRM system. You've taken the effort to capture it. Why wouldn't you want something then to come back and say, you heard that in the first place that they were upset? So we are really talking to people who want to build that relationship with people. If you want to build deep relationships with people in a busy professional firms, you do need to capture the data so you can repeat it again and again and again, because we're humans. We cannot capture that all the time, and we forget. Mm-hmm. Unless you've got 3 clients, and then don't worry about it. But
yeah, certainly, it's definitely a numbers game, and yeah, as you said, the human brain can only store so much information.
Yeah, and I don't want to rely on my brain. I mean, seriously.
You have 100 first conversations and they never go any further. So,
yes.
store some notes, track some reminders, have a status, meeting 1, meeting 2, meeting 3. I spoke to a real estate agent once, and he goes, I don't care about customers, because if they're going to buy, they're going to buy. That's fine. I don't care about people selling their homes, because people are going to buy or they're not going to buy. I care about listings. And I'm sitting here, I'm never going to sell my house with you. But
never.
I had the conversation. I'm like, how do you get listings? And he goes, oh, I just go and get leads, and then people list their house with me. If they're going to sell, they're going to sell. I'm like, no, people are going to list with you because they trust you, because you have a conversation with them, you guide them through the process, you do actually show that you've made some steps to try and get them the best price for their house.
And that you care. Like, seriously,
I guess if you could treat them like things, they will be turned off right there, and won't have to or feel the need to pursue the conversation any further. I guess if you're having that human interaction with them, you need to provide them with that human touch, as well as a personalized conversation, not just having a generalized conversation every single time, I guess.
Well, absolutely. And I think that, to build relationships, care is the big thing. So if you're talking to someone who says, I don't care about any human, it's just like, you're out anyhow. So, and the big thing is there, of course, is to make sure that people want to make sure you're heard. And real estate agents in particular, like, I would still use the ones that bought my house. Like, it wasn't even the guy who got the commission, but it was the sell. And he followed up, and he said, how are you going and stuff. And I have since referred him lots of times, even though he wasn't the one I didn't pay him any money. I wasn't selling the house. He helped me buy the house. He didn't get anything from me. But he followed it up, and now he's got lots of referrals from me. I'm still sitting in the house that I've owned for 20 years, so I'm not great for real estate agents, but I do know a lot of people who want them. So, tracking that sort of stuff, tracking relationships too that are network building as opposed to direct sales is super important too. And, that's how you can show you care quite efficiently and effectively as well. And you don't have to. Also, too, I think another thing that I think that most people miss on the use of technology, particularly CRMs, is the energy. So I know if I put something in it, it will be remembered. I don't have to wake up in the middle of the night and have a bad sleep because, oh, shit, I didn't tell somebody something. So it actually saves my energy and capacity too, because I know if I follow the system, it'll be captured, rather than I didn't do this or I didn't do that. Oh, I told that person I was going to send them that thing and I haven't. That has saved me a heap load of sleep, which is super important. If you want to, you have to be able to capture energy as well. So there are little things on this side of things, not just getting the relationships going, but it's also, creating space in your own head so you don't have to clutter it up. You can concentrate on what you're doing in the moment.
Or you hand a task off to it. It empowers others to help you.
Yes.
So I hand a task off, or I mention someone on the record, and they go back in, they can see my last email, 5 last emails with the client, the task I'm yet to do, the phone number, the email, the stage, exactly where we're at. So it saves me like a half-hour handover meeting just to go, this is the client, oh, screw it, I'm just going to do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and now like exactly what you said with that handoff. And, the stats show that only 10% of the CRM benefits are direct. Yes, I can save my details in there. Yeah, 90% are indirect for those very things that you were just mentioning. So, having that calm, having the ability to follow up, understanding that, or having the customer self-solve problems through, maybe a knowledge base or something like that. Getting out of the weeds on all the little things. Now you're getting up to the bigger, better conversations. And you were talking before about not shooting yourself in the foot in terms of, if you're good at something and it takes you less time to do, you're then billing less hours. So you're not being rewarded for being skilled. Your performance punishment. So having a system that will allow you to recognize when you're doing that, having a system that allows you to do the value-based pricing and get those averages of what you're doing and all of those customers, allows you to change the way you operate your business. But if you don't have visibility, you can't change it.
And that's exactly right. And also, there's a bit of a skill to that. We have a whole conversation training course on don't give shit away for free. It's called don't give stuff away for free sometimes, but depends on who I'm talking to. Apologies for that one.
We will have to edit that out for that.
Sorry. Don't give stuff away for free. And we've got a whole training on that. Not just we don't do the technology side of things, but, we have to actually train people and make them understand that. And this is important when you start to scale, because when you start to scale, you do need to spend hours and hours and hours on something that you can't charge for. You still need to understand, if I'm going to go and spend 40 hours on developing a system, what kind of return do I want to get on that time? So you can use the hours to dollar mindset a little bit to your benefit, so you can make business decisions, but you can't go, well, I'm going to spend 40 hours and I'm not going to get $1, because the idea is those 40 hours will get you, many dollars going into who knows when. Like it just keeps repeating, it keeps scaling. That's true scaling. But if you can't go, I have a quick telephone conversation and it's a client rings you about something that's technical that you've been studying for 20 years, and you can quickly answer the question. If you can't go, hey, that's really complicated, I'll get back to you with an email, it's going to cost $500, even if it takes you 4 minutes. If you can't get that skill and you put technology in, you will actually end up reducing your revenues. So you've got to acknowledge that our education and our expertise is developed over decades. And just because you can answer something in 3 minutes doesn't mean everyone has to know that. Because I can tell you the first client you charged on that was probably $1,500. And if they were willing to pay $1,500 back then, that's what you should be charging. And if you put the technology in and you don't shift that mindset, then you're not going to get your return back on the technology either. And you'll just think you're doing more and more.
If you do the email thing, you can put it into a template and potentially answer it in 30 seconds.
Exactly. Yeah.
So then your effective hourly rate becomes massive. You probably get the $1,500 plus.
Yeah, and that's the whole idea. But then don't feel guilty about that, because you've spent time on technology, you've spent time on your technical ability, university studies and everything. And we feel guilt when we do that. And we spend a lot of time undoing that kind of guilt, for lack of a better word, within professionals.
Everyone wants to help. Yeah.
Everyone wants to help. We are helpful people. We want to help, but we also, if we don't do it, they will undervalue what we do. They don't understand the value of it then.
Absolutely. Well, we've covered quite a lot today, and I think that our listeners have a lot to think about and should definitely get in touch. So if you want to know more and if you want to have a chat with Sam, you can go to Blueprint HQ. Is that the website, .com.au?
Yep.
And if at the end of this episode, that link as well as Sam's LinkedIn URL will be in the episode comments. So otherwise, thank you for listening. And if you have any questions or you'd like to be on the show, please check out relevate.com.au and fill out the contact form. Otherwise, it's been fantastic having you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, Avon. Thanks, Rana.
Thank you.
No worries. Take care.